recording back. And just a couple of comments. Even though the information is going to be redacted, just in general, when Braver Angels is giving a demonstration or showing information in one of our Zooms, um, for the we're very, very concerned about protecting people's personal information. That's a very high priority. All kinds of structures are put in place to protect that information. And in order for someone to get access to the data toolkit that I'm going to be showing you today, the individuals who are granted access to that information for their alliances or their states or their regions do have to sign it's a fairly straightforward but simple confidentiality agreement where you agree that you're not going to take the data and sell it. You're not going to use it outside of Braver Angels, et cetera, et cetera. So, as I say, we're very, very conscious of such things. Jet, I'm going to make you a co-host and I'm going to get started. So if you could also keep half an eye on the waiting room so that if people come in, that would be great. So you should be able to see the waiting room now. I think everybody is out of it at the present time. So I'm going to get started. Thank you very much. Let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, I recognize a lot of faces there in the audience, but I'm Gary Holland. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Office of Field Operations. I'm also stupid. I wear multiple hats. The other hat I wear is a state coordinator for the state of Connecticut. And I try to help out wherever I can, everywhere around Braver Angel. So thank you very much for taking the time out today and joining me. I'm assuming that you're all interested in football scores, and that's why you're here. Is that correct? Okay. Before I get into the middle of it, let me just ask, does anybody have some burning questions so that I can kind of have in mind the things that are a burning question about data toolkits in your mind, other than the basic one of what the hell is it, which I will address. Sharon.
Yeah. My question is about the confidentiality issue.
Right.
The ambassadors have really ramped up their program, and the ambassadors are getting really well trained. Georgia is a very big state. I want to know if I can give names and email addresses to ambassadors to go into areas where we don't have alliances and get things started.
Generally speaking, what we advise people to do, we'd probably address that on a case-by-case basis, Sharon, but generally speaking, what we advise is that an alliance or a state coordinator, someone finds a reasonably spreadsheet savvy person and give them the job of being the data person for that group. And that way they can work with the ambassadors, for example, and try to help them get the information that they need. That person could also learn how to do mailings, and so that if what you're looking to do, for example, is to send out an email announcing a session in a given part of a state, then that data person could generate the list. The ambassador could write the email, and then using either MailChimp or even Google Mail or something like that, the two of them could team up to get that mailing out the door. So that's the preferred way to do it. Anything other than that, then what we could consider that certainly if we were going to give a list of that kind of information to a person, they would need to enter into the non-disclosure agreement, and then that could be done. Okay, Michael.
Thanks.
My burning question. There was some confusion in the past regarding what you're going to describe. Is it only available for those who have Braver Angels email account, or this is not a condition for access?
I can't give you 100% answer on that. In general, we look for people that are going to have access to this kind of confidential information to be using a Braver Angels email address because it allows us to keep the security tight. Whether or not an exception can be made, I'd have to explore more. I don't have a 100% answer for you, but in general, the preference is to have a Braver Angels email address before you're given access to this kind of information for you for them to manipulate directly. Okay.
Okay,
And
thank you.
if you want me to get an answer to the question of can another type email be used, I can get you that answer.
Mhm.
Okay. Bonita.
Yeah, I've played around with the data tool a bit, and I see that you can only sort according to what's in that first column, and in order to like sort by say political leaning
Benita,
or
let me just say,
a
I'll show you how to sort by any or
okay,
all of columns that you want to.
okay, great.
It's just a spreadsheet. It works very much like a spreadsheet, and as soon as you learn how to sort in a Google Sheet, then you'll be all set. All right, I'm going to take just two more messages, and Marianne.
Just when do fields get updated? Like what I know some get initially entered when people subscribe or log in, but then there's other fields that get updated as they go to events and stuff.
I will cover that, but there's two things. One is that it's updated generally once a week automatically, and as a user have the ability to update it immediately, so that you make sure you get the most current updated information. So,
Like,
and I'll give some more
users and
information.
members and subscribers can update their own.
No. I'm not talking about updating the information. Wait till we get into that part, and then I'll address some more questions from you.
Okay,
Okay?
okay. No worries.
Last one.
Okay, I think that's me. So my question goes back to something of an earlier question, which is, so anyone with a Braver Angels email address can get into the data toolkit? No,
No.
just,
Anyone with What I'm saying is that in order to be granted access, you have to be granted access. In order to be granted access, you have to have, our preference is that you have a Braver Angels email address. But this information is by permission only. It's not generically open. All right.
okay, so if I have a steering team for my alliance, can I give access to can they get, if they have a Braver Angels email address and they're on my steering team?
Access can be arranged working with either the alliance co-chair or the state coordinators or regional leads. All right, but you have to be approved for that
Okay,
information.
thank you.
Right? All right, so let's dive into it. Okay, so let me just turn on sharing my screen. Okay, everyone should be seeing a Gmail account. Is that can people confirm? Is that the case? No?
No.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oops, hold on a second. There's one more button I gotta push. Thank you. There we go. That should get it.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can see you now. Yeah, we can see you.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. So the first thing is, how do you get to the data toolkit? Well, I'm going to show you a couple of tricks. Uh, from a browser window, when you're connected into your Braver Angels account, I'm using Gmail client, which is certainly the best one to use because it's more tightly integrated with the Google Workspace that's provided to Braver Angels members that have Braver Angels email addresses. If you are in your Gmail client, um, over in the bottom right-hand side, if you have a little caret that you see down here at the bottom, if you click on that, this little tab pops out. Now, many times your tab is already popped out, but if you don't see it, then look for that caret and click it. And this is a tab which gives you shortcuts to things. For example, this is a shortcut. If I click on it, it pops up the Google Calendar and I can see what things are happening. All right. This is one for Google Keep, for tasks, for contacts, etc. But the key one for this purpose tonight is the Braver Angel specific quick tab. You click on that logo and it pops up a bunch of quick links. Now, this is one of the entry points to the great wealth of information that Braver Angels provides. And you'll see things like there's a link here. Let me back up a little bit. What you actually will see on a quick link will vary depending upon what your role is. If you are a regional lead, you're going to have more choices. I happen to be at the national OFO, so I have a lot of choices. If you are a state coordinator, you'll have fewer choices than I have, but more choices than an alliance co-chair. So what you see here will vary depending upon what your role is in Braver Angels. One of the key things a lot of people don't know about, but this top link here will take you to the page within the Braver Angels world where you can check all aspects about your membership. How close is your membership to expiring and needing to be renewed? What email addresses are authorized to send you information about bills or other kinds of activities? I'm not going to spend any time going through these things. I'm just going to go down to the important part. Now, in my case, when I click down here where it says resources by field unit, this part right here, there is a drop down. I'll be honest, I don't know what each of you will see, but it might be something slightly different. It might just show the specific alliance that you're a member of, or it might show you a list of alliances. So it's a drop down, and you scroll up and down until you find your alliance, you select your alliance, and then everything else changes. Alliances have what are called ID numbers. It's a 3 or 4 digit number. States have 3 digits. Alliances tend to usually have 4 digits. All right. And that number is what identifies the information that's relevant to your alliance or your state or your region, as the case may be. In this case, I have selected the Connecticut Alliance, and that's the one that we're going to use today because we've had it redacted. So you can see under here, I can take a look at leadership contacts. I can go to the shared drive for the alliance, for my alliance. The other kinds of information is here. Like, for example, this is a quick way to get to the fundraising ledger where I, as an alliance or a state person, can find out what the current status of my pocketbook is, so I know what money I have to spend, etc. And down here is the data toolkit link. If you click on the data toolkit link, it'll open up a tab. I've already opened it because it takes it a little bit of time. But this is what the data toolkit looks like. Now you'll notice that the email addresses and last names and phone numbers and things like that have all been blocked out. That's for data privacy reasons. All right, so we're going to work around that so you won't see real email addresses and things like that. So let's just kind of start from the top here. First of all, there is here a drop down of the prompt is to pick a filtered list. So if I click on this, you can see it drops down a long list of different choices. And these are the selections that I can make. The person who asked, how can I get to specific information? So I have the ability to do an extract from the total list for my alliance down to, I can do things like I can say, okay, identify people who have attended some event in the last 30 days, or what are my new subscribers within the last 30 days? What are my new members within the last 30 days? Who are all of my red members? So there's a long list of these different choices. These are predefined sorts and extracts, which will just display that information. I'm going to start out with the all contacts list. Now, what happens when you change this setting, you get a little prompt down here on the side. It says it's building a report because it has to go out and retrieve the information and then load it into the database. Now, another important thing, and you can see it reports to you how many people fall into that category. It happens in the state of Connecticut. All of our contacts, we have over 1,000 contacts of different kinds. Some are subscribers, some are members, etc. Another piece of information right up here in this first row over here is the date and time that this database was last refreshed. When I get a little bit further into it, I'll tell you how you go about updating it. But this is always a good field to check. This says that this was updated at just after 9 o'clock this morning on the 27th. Today's the 28th. All right. So this information that I'm showing you now is a little bit out of date, and I'm not going to attempt an update because I'll be honest with you, I'm a little nervous that because this redaction was just done this afternoon, that something might break, and I don't want it to break. So I'm going to put the things that I think might be risky off until the last. Okay, so now if we look at the information that's available, the third row are all of the titles of all of the fields. And there's a lot of them, names, information about, I'll come back and talk about notes later, but it shows you if the person who provided the information, who signed up as a subscriber or who became a member, if they have provided their phone number, it will be in here. If they provided their email address, it will be in here. It will indicate what they said when they applied about what their leaning was, red, blue, other. Not, did not say, etc. It identifies the city. This column will tell you whether they're a member or not. It gives you information about the start date, etc., etc. Now, just to show you the great wealth of information, let me just get over here and get my drag. But there are column after column after column after column. There is a tremendous amount of information that is available here. I'll be honest, and in my use of this information, there's probably only about a half a dozen of these columns that I regularly pay attention to, but some of the other information, depending upon what your requirements are, can be useful, So as I say, there's a tremendous amount of information. I'm going to focus today primarily on the kinds of things that you might do to use this data in a variety of ways. One of the things in particular, how would you use it to, first of all, determine, is a person who has approached you, are they a member or a subscriber? Are they even on your list yet? Very frequently, I'll get an email to our general email, and the first thing I want to know is this person, do we already know this person? And if we do, what do we know about them? Because before I respond to that email, it helps me give a better response if I know a little bit about them. And if we have information in the database, it will tell me that. All right. You can search for a particular name. So, and the way you can do that is the control F is the general purpose find function. So you type in control F and you can see it pops up a find box here. And I can say, okay, I'm looking for somebody whose first name is Gary. All right. And it tells me, oh, there are 6 Garys. It finds one, and then I can click on the up and down arrows to go to the next Gary and the next Gary and the next Gary. And there's a Gary first name. There's some Garys mentioned in other fields, but this is the first name that is the first time that it is a Gary by the first name. Let me just move this up a little bit here. Just so happens, by the way, this happens to be mine. Since it's my personal information, I don't have a problem necessarily about showing a little bit. But looking at this infamous person, Gary, I can highlight the row and I can skim over and I can see what kinds of things might I be able to learn from. Well, one of the things, for example, is it has information here about the last event that Gary attended. And that can be very useful because if you look at that field and you see that somebody attended one of your events recently, it gives you an icebreaker, a way to open the conversation if it's a new contact. Other kinds of information that can be used. It's also very, especially if you're recruiting volunteers, it's useful to see what kind of volunteer roles do they have if they are already a member, or what kind of volunteer things are they interested in. Again, this is just information that's available. If you're interested particularly on the some political aspect, you'll get information in here about what part of the state that they're in, their zip code, um, and there's information about where it's available and where we've been able to get it from a third-party source, information about what legislative district they're in and things like that. So it's very useful. Okay. And thank you for the comment about being careful about hovering, so that, because I don't want to pop up personal information. That's one reason while I'm working, I'm using my personal information in this particular case. Okay, so let me talk about some other things that we do with this. One of the things that you can do with this is you can use it for kind of a contact management system in a very simplistic fashion. You'll see here in this column, there is an add note. It's a plus or minus. And so the way that we use it in Connecticut is when we have a volunteer who has access to the database, and he looks at who is a new subscriber in the last, or a new member in the last 30 days. And the role he's taken on is to attempt to make sure and contact those persons as soon as he can after they have joined Braver Angels. But you want to keep track of the people that you have contacted. And we use this notes field for this. So let's say that this person, Gary, is a new member, and I want to reach out to him, but I want to record that I'm planning to do that. So I come here, I go into the notes field, I click on this link, and it pops up another window, and it asks me to provide my email. It already populates it with the date that I've added this note. It populates it with a person's name, and you can put in your notes. And when you hit submit, what happens is, and I think I must have moved to the wrong place, because I think I picked up the person. I think I picked this person here. I think I made a mistake when I selected it. But basically what it does is it adds a note. And if I have more than one note, it will add, the number will go up from 2 to 3, etc. So I can add an initial note of the fact that I'm going to reach out to that person. And then after I talk to them, I can come back and add a note and say, this is what I've learned about that person. And if there's another follow-up step that's necessary, I can put that into the note. And if someone else that's authorized to work with the list comes back to look at it, then they can see the history of what contacts have taken place with this person on their progression from from subscriber to member to volunteer to trained volunteer, etc. You can track that history if that's the kind of thing that you would like your alliance or your state to be doing. It's a very useful tool. Now, there was a question about being able to sort by other fields, and a feature that exists in Excel as well as in the Google Sheets is a sorting capability. So let's say what I do is I highlight this row of these fields, and I go into data, and I say, okay, I want to create a filter view. Now, what that does is that makes every one of these fields sortable or searchable. So for example, if I wanted to go into this first name field, then I can see people's first names, and if all I wanted to do, there's 159 different first names that are in this column. So I can sort them from, let me go back and sort them from Z to A. So I can sort them from Z to A, all right? And so now it has sorted the fields in a different order. If I wanted I see that the redacting that's done has caused the fields to misbehave a little bit. If I wanted to only see people who had notes, I could go into the note field and I could say, okay, I don't want to see blanks. I hit okay. And now it is pulled out only the records where there is a note. That can be a very useful thing. If I want to change that filter, I go back and I change it to, I add the blanks back in, I say okay, and it puts them back in. So let's say, for example, I wanted to find everybody that was in a given city. So I can go in here and say, okay, I want to find people that are in Brookfield, not in Brookfield. I want to find people, I'm just going to clear all of them. I say, okay, I want Brookfield and Danbury. Those are two cities that are close by. And I say, okay, I click that. And it pulls up just those people that are that are members that are in those two cities. All right. So you can do the same thing for any of the other fields, whether it's political affiliation, you want to see, some combination, you can select just one of the values or multiple values. I'm going to take a stop for just a minute and see if anybody has some questions of what I've shown so far. Okay, I think it's Barbara Regan.
Yes, I couldn't find, I'm looking at my Alliance Data Toolkit and I missed what you did. I can't find how you got that search box where you were able to type Gary in there. How did you get that to come up?
It's a two-stroke sequence, the control key and an F.
The Control F?
Control F for find.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and what it does is it pops up a box over here on the right side of your screen. It's just a little box and you type whatever it is in there and it will search for that.
I don't
Mr.
know.
Smith.
I'm not seeing it though. Control F. I'm
So
on a MacBook. Do you think maybe that makes a difference?
if you're on the MacBook, it might be a Command F. I'm not
Maybe.
sure.
Okay. Oh yeah, that was it. Command F. Okay, thank you.
Al Smith.
Yes, I have to ask the question, Gary. I look at Brookfield and my name's not there. What happened?
I don't know. Did you pay your dues?
I think so. I don't know.
Al, I'll check into that later. It may have to do with the redacting that they've done because I can tell already from this the redacting that we did to try to have something more meaningful is causing some strange effects. For example, the column headings have disappeared. So,
Okay.
I may have to go and pull a fresh version. But let's go back. I'm just going to pull a different list here just for fun. I want to see all of the new subscribers for the last 90 days. So it's regenerating the report. And it's not showing them to me. Wait a second. Let me make sure I have no more filters on. I may have to download a new version. So my apologies for this. Sometimes when you do a quick and dirty as we've done here, it misbehaves itself. Oh, no, there we go. It just hadn't refreshed yet. All right, so these are the people that are new subscribers in the last 90 days. And it looks as though one of them, since this is members, one of them has recently become a member. So they became a subscriber in the last 90 days, but they also have become a member. But all of these other people on this list, they're all prime subjects to go out and try to recruit them to, find out would they be interested in becoming a member. Many times people who become subscribers don't even know what they need to do to become a member. Melinda Voss.
Yes. Is there any way to put the same note in more than one person at a time? For example, if I wanted to put in a note that I had sent an email to lapsed members, I see, so in my case, I see a few, 30 lapsed members in the last 30 days. If I wanted to put a note in for all of them, do I have to go in and put it in individually that, sent email? Or is there a way I can put a note in for all 30 of those?
There isn't a way to do it because this particular feature is a very simple part.
Okay.
It's not a full contact management system in that respect. So
Okay,
unfortunately,
all right. That's all I need. Thanks. I didn't think so, but I just thought I'd ask. Thank you.
okay. Lenny G.
Thanks. So question about, again, because I think we all have contact management needs. And so the first I have a couple of questions related to that. If we assign, like if we as a team want to assign different people, we get a bunch of people coming to a thing and we want to split it up between 3 people to follow up on those people on contacts after a meeting to see if they're interested. Is there any way to assign one of these people to a particular member? Is there a field there that this is the key contact within the alliance?
No, there is not such a field. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Again, this is primarily driven by maintaining membership information that we can use to identify people of certain characteristics, primarily to promote to or communicate
Right.
with events and things. This
I mean, again, that's the goal here is we're trying to encourage people to come, and sometimes that may take 1 or 2 contacts, not
there's
somebody following up.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about what we should be doing in the longer term to have a true contact manager. In fact, the use of the note field originally was for a totally different purpose. It's just that a few alliances discovered it could be used as a mechanism, as a part of their outreach process. And so it's not something that was really designed to do, but it does work with some severe limitations.
So basically, right now we have to, if we're splitting up the tasks, then somebody's got to be the focal point, and all the members who are doing the follow-up have to go to the person who's like the focal point to add those notes. So that we can track them.
Well, there could be another way. I don't know how to advise whether it's a good way, but there's not a limit to the number of people that can have access to a data toolkit. So if let's say you had 4 people that were a part of this team that was doing follow, each one of them could be given access, but obviously one of the issues is
security.
Well, security is certainly one of them, but the other one is how do you sort out which one has worked on them? One thing I bring to your attention, if you'll notice here, this column here, it shows you the most recent note that was put in. So if you got in the habit of in your text putting like the person's initials at the very beginning of it, then you would be able to quickly see which person did what with that person, and at least determine whether it's worth looking further. Okay.
That's good. Thanks.
But for example, for this person here, they have 3 notes. The only one that's shown is the most recent one, describing that there was a Zoom meeting with them to discuss Braver Angels. But there's 2 other notes, and that are in there as well. I'd rather not pull them up because they might have some personal information in them. So, Cascade, do you have a question?
Yes, I was just wondering how you see the older notes. Do you click on the number, or what you do to see multiple notes?
Well, with multiple notes, I'll just show you what happens is you go over the number, you click here, and what it does is, I'm going to close this window quickly, but what it does is it pulls up the multiple notes. All right. It puts them all on one page. I'm not going to show that because it's got some personal information, but basically you click on the number, it puts on one screen all three of the notes that are out there, and they're dated, and you know who made the contact because it asks for email. So you can see that in a quick summary.
Okay, and can you edit notes?
Can you edit notes? I don't. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll a little bit later. I'll pull up my name again and add a note and try it. Mr. Madway.
Hey, Gary, if you sort something by last name or what have you, is that retained once you log off, or will it still appear as a sorted list next time you go on?
It will be retained until something happens to change it. For example, when the database is updated, refreshed, which happens at least once a week. But if you have multiple people who access, any of them might do a refresh, and that would change that sort. The other thing you can do, although we encourage people to be very careful about doing it, you can create a copy of an extracted spreadsheet. So, for example, if I wanted to have a copy of this list of new subscribers in the last 90 days, I can go down here to this tab and I can copy it to a new spreadsheet. Now, the reason why I caution people about this is that as soon as someone does that, and this is why you have to pick the people that you let have access to this data. The minute they do that, there's no controls on that. There's no controls on that subordinate spreadsheet. There have been discussions about not allowing it, but we've decided to that, you have to take some risks in life, and that's one of the risks that we take. But that is a way you can, that is a way that you can do that. It's also a way, by the way, for the earlier question, you could actually do an extraction, get the list that you want, create a subordinate spreadsheet, and you could give that out to the people that are following up. But then the difficulty you have is there's not a way to merge that data back into the master file. So as long as you're willing to keep it separate or decide what you want in the master file and come back and do it again, but there's not a way to bring it back in. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, can you do a filtered search by event? So in other words, if we did a workshop 3 months ago and I want to go back in and see all the people who attended that workshop, can you do that?
Yes. Yes. Let me just bring all of this back. Okay, so let's see. Let's find. Okay, so here, let me just find an event that. Okay. All right, so I can go into this thing and I want to find everybody that went to this Alliance members meeting in Connecticut. So I can go into here, I can pull this up, I can go down and look for the, I think it's 4533. So I'm going to clear all of them except for 4533. And those are the people in this subset of new subscribers that attended that list. All right. Now you can also have multiple choices. So you're not limited to selecting on one column only. I could go back into here and I can say, okay, I want all of the people that are in that group, and I want them in a particular city. So if I had a lot of people in a lot of cities, I've had a much longer list, and I wanted to get just the people in Brookfield, Connecticut that attended that session, I could filter on 2 columns, or I could filter on 3 columns. If I want to find everybody named Susie that was in that particular event, etc. So, all right, Kelly.
All right, I have 3 questions. I'll try to be quick. Those events, that's fantastic. But do those have to, those I assume are events that have been organized and posted with like an Eventbrite? Is that
That's
sure?
correct.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Because that makes sense that would be integrated. I wonder if you'll speak, there's two things. Wonder if you'll speak to the integration of this data with MailChimp and how to, like, are we only putting members, or it could be the subscribers as well as members? So that's one question. And related to that is because I would love to get, we have the two, like the spreadsheet and the database situation. And that stems from having kind of started with a grassroots and kind of people from the street coming in and signing up, and not necessarily through the main channel. So I'm wondering if you have any suggestions around that, because it would certainly seem more optimal if I could manage everything from one master spreadsheet, being this one. Anyway, those two questions.
Okay, so the question about you have two separate databases. You have the data toolkit, which is people that have gone through some channel that Braver Angels recognizes, and then you have a side one, which maybe is historic or from events that weren't Eventbrite, etc. I'll be honest with you, I don't know the answer about how you go about doing that, but what I would direct you to do is to reach out to the field technology people and pose the question. All right. And the in the notes that will come out from this meeting, I'll make sure that the email address, I think it's called fieldtechnology@braverangels.org. You send them an email, ask the question, and someone will get back to you.
Thanks. And the one about integrating with MailChimp.
Yes, this database is fully integrated with MailChimp, and there is another mail program that it was recently integrated with called Send, but the majority of people use MailChimp. MailChimp is free for people with lists up to 500. They keep changing their pricing levels, but I think it's free for people up to 500. And there's a limit to the number of emails you can send in a month on the free account. And then there's a graduated scale. In Connecticut, for example, we have under 1,500 contacts in our MailChimp list, and I think that costs us about $23 a month for that. So it is fully integrated. And with MailChimp, if someone unsubscribes to the newsletter, it will feed it back into the data toolkit so that you'll see that they have unsubscribed. And then it would give you an opportunity to follow up with them and see if you could talk them into subscribing again. All right, Don.
Yeah, so can you create a view that limits which columns display? And does that survive a refresh?
Well, yes, you can select on town without any difficulty, because, for example, this is the town list here, and if I said, okay, I only want people from West Hartford and Berlin, if I put that filter on, it filters those out. But it is not a permanent filter. It will stay for as long until the next time somebody does something to change it. So if you have multiple people who have access to your data toolkit, if they come in and put a different filter in place, the one that you created has gone away. But as I mentioned earlier, you do have the ability to go down and you can make a copy of this filtered list. You can copy it to a new spreadsheet, and you can keep that forever. You could also, although we don't recommend it, you could copy it to you can copy this to a new tab in this spreadsheet, in which case it would last, but I highly recommend against that, because then you start getting a really cluttered up spreadsheet. You can already see it has, half a dozen tabs at the bottom. So recommend against that. Okay, does that answer your question, Don?
Yeah, but to clarify, if nobody goes in and changes the filter of which columns, if it's refreshed, then it will still keep that filter.
No, if it's refreshed, the filter will go away. If it's a refresh, and as I say,
it's a refresh.
Every data toolkit is refreshed automatically, I think on a once a week schedule. And you have the ability to refresh it with a real-time request, which I'm going to try in a few minutes.
Okay. And then one other question I have is if you create a filter and then you want to say download a copy rather than create another Google Doc or Google Sheet and you just want to download to Excel, um, will it keep the filter or does it just give you uh every
No,
column?
I believe when you download it, since the same filter model exists in Excel, I believe that the filter goes with it. I would frankly have to test it to see, but I'm pretty confident that it does.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Cascade, you're up again.
Yes, we saw before when we could see the headings that we could see the last event that somebody attended, but can we see all the events that somebody attended?
Yes, let me, I'm fingers crossed this works. Hold on a second. I'm just going to refresh this. There is a menu called extensions. I go down into the extension and I go to the Alliance Data Toolkit and I ask it to refresh the data, which means it's going to pull it from the national database. Fingers crossed this works. If not, I may
It's
have
a
to pull
while.
a file that it takes some time to do that. It takes a minute, 2 minutes sometimes. All right, but it should give me a fresh um, database. Hopefully, I'll get it's refreshing it. So let's just give it a second. Hopefully, I'll get the titles back. No.
Oh,
Well, let me pick up, go back to the all contacts list, see if it's going to give that to me. Okay. So there is a field here that has, let's see. I think I'm going to have a hard time finding it because of the condition of this thing. But yes, there is a field that has the whole list of events that we're aware of. Oh, okay. What do we got here? No, hold on. Okay. I got the tabs, the
oh,
titles
good.
back. It
Yeah.
finished refreshing. I was not confident enough. So let's go back here. The last event attended, events attended. I think it might be in this field. Let me just see. Yeah, here's an example of several events that someone has attended. So
Okay.
there, all right. Now recognize that it won't capture every event. All right, there are a lot of things that need to take place. First of all, they need to be events that were run by an Eventbrite set. And then whoever's running the event needs to feed back through the Eventbrite system or through here who actually attended. All right. And only when we get that feedback loop can we add that. We keep a record of things that people registered for. For example, this field here shows events that someone has registered for. And many times people will register for an event but not attend. Or they registered for an event, they attended, and their attendance wasn't captured and reported back to the system. So it's an imperfect system, but if everything falls into place, if your alliance is very good about collecting attendance records and feeding them back into the system, um, then uh, um, uh, then the information is good.
So
All right.
if they show up under events attended, they will no longer show up under that event will no longer show up under events registered. Is that correct?
It stays in both places because that just means if they show up in both places, it means they both registered for that event and they showed up.
Okay, great.
Okay.
That's
Because sometimes you're looking to find the information about who registered for this event. Let me have an idea of what the total population of people that are interested in this subject. And then there's a subset of that because there's almost always people who register that don't show up. So the other one is, all right, what percentage of people who registered actually showed up? That's a useful number to have for the next time you have that event. It gives you some planning order of magnitude things to fool with.
So
Cheryl,
if somebody cancels, does that still show up under registered, or what happens with it? Does that change anything?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. I
Okay.
don't. I think it still shows up that they registered because they did register, but I don't know for sure the answer to that.
Okay, thank you.
I've never had a need for that information, but the cancellation, by the way, does show up in Eventbrite. If they cancel, you can go into Eventbrite and you get a report for a given event. Who are the people who canceled?
Oh.
Cheryl.
I just have a quick question. A difference between subscriber and member?
Subscriber is a person who, in some fashion, has gotten their name on our mailing list.
Uh-huh.
All right. A member is someone who has either taken advantage of one of the free membership offers that happen from time to time, or they've paid at least the minimum $12 membership fee, annual fee, to become a member of Braver Angels. That's the difference between the two.
And will they get a notice that the membership is up for the year?
Yes, there's an email. They should receive an email to whatever email they have on record as their billing email, which may or may not be the same as the one that they use, but they have control over that in the member portal, and they will get an email. And I think
Okay.
we don't pester people. We don't send them 27
Yeah.
emails, but I think they get a couple of reminders.
Okay, thank you.
Lenny. Oh, by the way, if you hear from a member or from somebody who says, I'm not getting emails anymore, or I'm not getting the monthly email, one of the first places I go to look up their status to see what's happened. Sometimes people accidentally or intentionally unsubscribe to an email that they get, not realizing it's going to take them off the list altogether. So looking in the data kit to see what their status is and what their subscription status is. Did they unsubscribe and things like that and also, are they still a member? If somebody stops being a member, they don't stop being a subscriber. They just move into the subscriber column. Okay. Lenny.
Two quick questions, hopefully. You raised, can we update their email if it's incorrect and they send us a new one?
I have to confess, I must be tired at the end of the day. I knew the answer to that question. I do know that if you're using MailChimp, that a good way to do that is to go into MailChimp and correct it there, because then it will be replicated back to Data Toolkit. I think that there is in the README here, there's something about how to update a contact. And I believe that the recommendation is for the individual who is changing their email to go to one of their emails and click on the link at the bottom about their subscription. And that takes them to a screen where they can update the status and change subscription. All right.
Meetings, I have a hard enough time trying to get people to rename without making them go through a whole process to update their email.
I understand.
I would like to do that for them.
All right.
The other question.
I don't know the answer, but I'll try to get it for you and make sure it goes out.
Do they document where all the fields come from? It sounds like we've got 3 or 4 different sources of data. So it'd be nice to know where it actually comes from.
I don't know. I have not seen a document other than a technologist document that describes that in technical terms.
I'll ask the tech team then. I understand. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Randy Freeman from New York State.
Yeah, hi, Gary. I just went on to my data, toolkit area, and it said I'm missing my data toolkit, so I haven't used it yet. I've used other ways of getting to people, so I have to get one. As the state coordinator, can I get one that includes the whole state? And it looks like I have to go to Louisiana to get the data.
Not people. They only set up toolkits when people ask for them. And
Okay,
they, for a number of reasons. One is they want to make sure the person is committed to taking the time to learn a little bit about how to use it.
yes,
And also to make sure that they sign the non-disclosure.
okay,
But the thing is to get the right definition, especially for new alliances, which didn't exist before, because the data toolkit is driven by information like city name and zip code, especially zip code. You know,
mm-hmm,
if you're establishing an alliance in a particular area, you know, then you have the opportunity to define what is the geographic scope of that. Now, in
okay,
your case, you're looking probably for a New York State view, and that makes it easy for them. They can easily do that. Anybody that has a New York State zip code goes into the data toolkit, they can build.
okay, okay,
So
okay. But that also helps me in guiding some of the local alliances as well. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm. By the way, there are some states, what they have is they have kind of an unofficial statewide alliance because they have people who are looking to develop in areas where they don't have alliances, you know,
Ye-
and so and
Yes,
if, you know, the chances are good that we have members that are scattered all over the state, and not all of them are within, membership distance of a given alliance.
that's helpful because Western New York is trying to form kind of a Western New York huge
Mhm.
area, and that might be helpful to them as well. Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
Julianne, my friend. Unmute.
Thanks, Gary. Hey, I thought I heard you say something about MailChimp, or one of the other people said we can update MailChimp and it will update the data
If
toolkit.
it is my understanding, I have not tried it, but it's my understanding that if you go into MailChimp and you update the detailed record in MailChimp, the next time it replicates, it starts talking to the master database, that the new value, because it changes are dated. So if MailChimp says, hey, I've got this new address information for this person, then that will feed back into the data toolkit system. If you find that it's not working, please let me know or talk to Louis Zinn, and let him know, and they'll look into it because that's the way it's supposed to work.
All right, thank you.
John.
Yeah, so updating, okay, I understand that. I think you can add too, and I haven't experimented with it enough. And I think I've tried to add and it didn't work, but are we supposed to be able to add in MailChimp, do the refresh and do that? Or what's the best way to add?
You
I mean, that's just people that come and all they'll do is the paper. They won't do anything else. So I add them to my MailChimp.
Yeah, it might work, but a better way to do it is to go to one of the subscription link on the website and just enter them into the form, because that way it will go in the front door rather than the back door.
Oh, the subscription link. I can subscribe somebody. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That is an information that we kind of treat it carefully, just in case you have some people who aren't nice people and they want to sit down and subscribe everybody in sight. But no, I mean, the subscription links on the website are open for anybody to subscribe, and we encourage people to subscribe. Keep in mind, though, that the subscription form is going to ask for other information than just their name and their email. It's going to ask about, political leaning and other kinds of things. So you need to make sure that you have their authorization either to not answer that or to answer it according to their wishes. And certainly an entry in the database without the kind of basic demographics that the subscription form asks for, is of only limited assistance to the overall Braver Angels mission. Because if we don't know enough about a person, we have a hard time getting them the best possible communication package for their personal situation. Mr. Richardson.
Yes, I just had a question with the new alliance we were setting up in Virginia and we're spread out. And we've got, I think, one person that, due to her zip code, she's not on our list. And I'm wondering, she was probably put in another alliance list. Is there a way that we can add her to our list for mailing?
Uh, what I would suggest you do is take her specific details and send it to Louis Zen,
Mm-hmm.
right? And ask him that question. Um, and the issue is a little. You can certainly solve that singular problem, but what might make sense for someone to do is to ask Louis for a report, which would show you all of the people in Virginia who are not associated with an alliance. Because there's probably other people in the same situation. They're not in a zip, because since alliances are defined by zip code, unless you have a statewide alliance, as we have in Connecticut, unless you have a statewide alliance, then there are people that are going to be in zip codes that aren't associated with alliances that are orphaned. They're still going to get emails, but they're not going to show up on your radar screen as a member of your alliance. And so you don't have a way to directly to include them in your Virginia specific communications. Okay.
Okay, maybe that's why I'm not even on the list. And I'm a
Yeah.
co-chair. Because I'm over an hour drive away from Charlottesville.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can contribute to that, but that's one of them. And so if you'll send an email to Louis, and I'm going to put his name in the chat.
So we can't add names without going through to the national with the zip code.
Again, I would pose the question to Louis. I mean, the problem is that unless you give them a zip code that's in your alliance, they're still not going to show up. You can add them, but since the data toolkits are defined by zip code, if you have a person in a zip code that isn't associated with an existing alliance list, it's not going to show up. So the kind of choices you're facing are, and Louis can explore with you the different options. In some areas, what they've done is they've done a kind of one data toolkit, which is everybody in every zip code that isn't in an alliance. So it becomes kind of a catch-all alliance, yeah. The other things that sometimes people have done is that they occasionally will get a list of the zip codes that are in the surrounding area, and they start adding a layer to the size of the alliance, and they get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, So there's a number of different ways to address that. And Louis can share with you his experience across Braver Angels. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Don.
Yeah, okay, so just to be clear, if we're not getting a particular zip code, do we contact Lewis and he can add the zip code to our particular database?
Well, the step would be to go to Lewis with that zip code and say, Lewis, does anybody own this zip code? Because I don't know whether other alliances, it might be in another alliance, or it might be in a different data toolkit that maybe the state coordinator has. And so you might find that it's someplace else, but have that conversation with Lewis, and he will explore with you the different options that are available.
Okay,
And
and one other question I had was, so if I understand what you're saying, if we can actually go into the, just straight through the front door and sign somebody up as a subscriber. And I don't remember if they ask you to create a password for that, but if we sign them up and then we say, hey, you got an entry here. Can you go and fill in your demographic information just in case, just to get them one more step in the door so that they make it as easy as possible for them to start adding demographic information, political leanings, things like that.
if they become a member, the answer is yes. If they're just a subscriber, I'm not sure. If they become a member, they can connect in using the email that they provided, and they can go to the member portal. And they will find the member portal. If I go back here, Looks like my computer is giving me a headache here. But if you go to the quick links area in the member portal, if you go to the Braver Angels quick link at the very top, the very first selection is for the members portal, and that will take them to the page about their membership, and it has all the details about what email they have, and they have the ability to go in there and edit the leanings, for example, because sometimes people change their minds about things. All right.
That's great. One other question. When I'm looking at the quick links right now, and I'm seeing it saying missing data toolkit. Does that happen when I have my tech intro?
No, it could well mean that they have never created a data toolkit for your area. Not
Okay.
every alliance has a data toolkit. They only create them on request. They don't do it across the board. There's, just because
Yeah.
it's just not worth the kind of the CPU
Sure.
cycle. So again, go to Lewis, and he can tell you it may also be that there was one at one time, but the alliance went dormant, or the person who was working with the data toolkit left the organization or hadn't touched it in 6 months, and they may have turned off access to it. As I say, we tried to. They're pretty conservative in the way in which they manage this critical data, and so there's a number of reasons why you might not see it. The most likely one, though, is that one was never created for your particular alliance.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, we're a little past the time. I hope the fact that people are staying means that they're interested. I'm sorry I had a few problems with this, and I see that it shouldn't be showing. It looks like the whole redacting process failed. So do we have anybody else have a question? Bill?
Yeah, I know some other people have mentioned the coordination with MailChimp to get
Yes.
the mailing list to MailChimp. Are you going to have another session on that, or we do it tonight? Or
I can't go into it tonight because we just don't have time. It's a into itself. But I'll tell you what you can do. Again, if you'll go into the portal, if you go into the volunteer page and you go to the field leaders portal, you can go to the technology section, and they offer tutorials, one-on-one tutorials by one of their MailChimp experts who will do a much better job than I do.
okay.
All right. Bill? No? No question from you, Bill? Okay.
No, I just asked it.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Well, listen, thank you very much for your time. I know there were a number of questions that I didn't answer, and I will try to ferret that out from the recording and make sure and get back to people with answers to those questions. And I really appreciate your time. I hope it's been worthwhile. So, my email is gholland@braverangels.org. So feel free to reach out to me if you come up with some other questions. If I can't answer them, I'll refer you to somebody who can, God willing. Okay. Thanks very much, everybody. And if somebody has some questions they want to hang around and ask some questions even on another subject, I can hang on for another 10 or 15 minutes if you like. Otherwise, have a great evening.
You know, I did have a question for you. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Jet.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah. Go ahead.
John, go ahead. Oh,
It just left me. I'm sorry.
that's all right. Did somebody have a question? John, do you have a question or
John?
not?
Yeah, sure. Sorry to, it's a little off topic, so I was going to leave it till the end. Is everything tonight was once you formed an alliance, here's kind of what you do. And a couple of years ago, I didn't have an alliance, and someone did some of this work for me and actually pre-formed our data toolkit and things. So I would like to see that thinking in the organization. And I don't know, I mean, I've had a little bit of a conversation with Lewis, but I'm not sure he's even the best person, that we start looking at these areas that aren't incorporated, like that catch-all. That was probably the best thing I heard tonight. It's a great idea for every state to have a catch-all. And then of course somebody's got to do it. And I hope Melinda is off the call because I'm assigning her work. She's my state coordinator. I don't want to do that. I mean, we need to do it in a way that people like me are doing the work. I want to make my alliance larger. So that's it. That's my speech.
No, I will tell you that in my experience, Braver Angels is very much a reactive organization. When somebody raises their hand and says, "I want to do thus and so, and here's my thinking for it, and this is how it's going to benefit the Braver Angels and why it's a Braver Angels way time activity," 99 times out of 100, it happens, you know. But Braver Angels has learned in the School of Hard Knocks that you have to be really careful about what things you offer before you have people asking for it, because they more often than not they fail. You know, so it's very much a pull kind of environment rather than a push, especially when it comes to the things on the technology side. So again, I would go back to Lewis, pose the question to him. There are other he has his own term for it. I call it a catch-all alliance. But there are other places where there are data toolkits that have been put together to cover areas where there aren't alliances. And the question is, if someone wants to work with that data, the chances are we can make it available to you. Okay.
Gary, may I
did
make a
remember
comment here?
Sorry, hold on a second. I got John first.
Okay.
I did remember my question. So I used to be a coach here in Texas, and I still got access on the quick links. How do I go about letting somebody know to take me off the Texas one?
Yeah, that's a good question. Can you send me a note about that, Don? G.
I'm going to
Holland.
be doing my tech orientation tomorrow with Samantha. So
Okay, well, bring that up to them and
okay.
point out to them. It probably is just a timing thing. Were you in a leadership role when you were in Texas? I think you were, weren't you?
Yeah, but I'm not for like 6 months or something. So they just never bothered
Probably
taking me
just
off.
a database update error that
Right.
somebody more along the way, but
Right.
I'm sure they'll resolve it.
Okay, thank you.
Julianne, you're up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to John's comment about sort of a catch-all thing. Have you spoken with Bill Madway from Pennsylvania? He did a presentation maybe a month or so ago about the alliance growth that they're setting up in Pennsylvania. And they've created the foundation for 7 new alliances, one of them being a virtual alliance. So if you fall outside the scope of any alliance, you would belong to that virtual alliance. And they have one, but they're setting up 2 co-chairs for that virtual alliance. And we as a state are learning to create an environment where we can, or framework where we can work as alliances that support that virtual alliance, as well as we would be able to use resources from that virtual alliance if we don't have them at our local alliance. I mean, that's a growing pain that we're experiencing right now, but they're just kicking it off, and Bill might be happy to talk to you about it.
I did see his presentation, and he is the closest to my thinking that I've seen. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
If you need would you like me to stick his contact in chat?
Yeah, I got it from that presentation he did, and I
you got it.
watched
Good.
all their recorded trainings and all that. So
Right.
thank you.
Sure.
Hey,